welcome back to the vocal vibe. I have Wise here today. We're talking about compression and distortions, apparently. I don't know, because that's what we were just talking about a second ago. Um, so he was telling me how he's been working with some really cool experts in like throat singing and fry and all that cool stuff. And I've been working with growls and having a blast with that. But it definitely requires a like what's the word I'm looking for? Very specific coordination for those kinds of sounds. So
Yeah, but I think what was cool is that okay, we're gonna go a bit off the rails here, but I think what was cool is that we were talking about how we're kind of approaching things differently from how we normally think of them. Like I know Mel, you said that it's a specific coordination, but it's like you were how were you saying that you got your fry? You were saying it was from
I was going from fry. I got it's head to chest. So I go he and I get this cool kind of
yeah,
sound.
yeah.
Yeah,
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 and
yeah.
you wouldn't think of that because it's fry, right? Like
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
you're thinking that the vocal cords are really close together, which I mean I'm not sure if we spoke about it in the registration stuff the previous time, but theoretically it is like it's compressed, it's hyper compressed. So compression, I guess we should get into what that is first before we lose people.
Yeah. Good.
Compression refers to a lot of things, but the idea is that your vocal cords, when they flap, they can be close together or they can be far apart. So, how close together they are, that's compression in a sense. I mean, they can also be like not that close, maybe not even touching. That's decompressed.
Right.
So, with that easy working definition first, maybe we can go into other stuff later. Vocal fry is where they're really close together and they're just like little bubbles are popping up because
Yeah.
like, yeah, so, and yeah, and I mean maybe actually that is a nice thing to keep in mind because that gurgling kind of thing
Yeah.
can also happen when your vocal cords are really thin. So you're in this thing, but then they're really close to your vocal folds are really close together. Like sometimes you crack your voice like, oh my gosh, like what is this? I'm an old woman. So I hope that won't get me canceled, but I think
No, I
yeah.
doubt it.
So yeah, and when Mel you did that earlier, that's like that is the thing I've been working on, and you just got it.
Yeah.
I mean, not just you've been working on this, like.
I was in the car. I'm gonna tell you the story of how I figured this out too. Okay, I was in the car. I was driving. I think I was driving home from like a park or like a restaurant or something. My daughter was in the back seat, and I'm like thinking like, what did Nicholas say about fry screen? Like, what were the overlapping exercises he gave? I think it was like flipping registers. So I was like just practicing flipping from head to chest, and then he's like, and then add the breathy vocal fry, and I was like, okay. So again, I'll do it again, but there's a coming downstairs. They're probably like, what the heck is that?
Let's do it.
So we have he and then I was like, okay, add breathy fry. Ooh, that was cool. And then yeah, it came out of my mouth, and my daughter in the back seat, she's like, "Mommy, what was that?" And I go, "Mommy's making some noise," and she's like, "You're making silly noises," and I go, "Yeah," and then she's like, "I don't like that."
That's the life of us voice teachers. We don't like what people don't like. But that's how you improve, right?
She's 3 and she goes, "I don't like that," and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm sorry."
Hey, that is the mark of honor for like if you're gonna be a metal singer, right? You gotta. Then the cops have got to be called. No, just kidding. But like, you gotta be making some noise though. It's unpleasant noises like the. Oh, you were telling me about something else, like the death growl. Yeah. You were telling me about how you figured
That's
that
just
one
the
out,
opposite. Well, first you gotta have false fold, which is the gritty sounds. That's the false chords coming together and vibrating above the true folds. The true folds make clean sound, and the false chords make. I'm explaining to the people watching at home because they probably have no idea.
Yeah.
So we have. Yeah, hey, this is a raspy kind of sound. What's up? How you doing? And then you switch that from that M1 to M2. So you have. Yeah. That was kind of weak. We try that again. Yeah. And then you have. Death metal growl. Jesus, my throat was like, hey, it's really early. You probably shouldn't be doing this at
Oh
9:30 in
yeah,
the
yeah.
morning.
I asked Mel to do this really early because it's really late for me. So we're like on the opposite sides of the globe. So now she has morning voice and I have warmed voice. I don't know. So no, but
Yeah.
like maybe for people to hear the difference as well, because like that was a really cool false chord scream slash death growl kind of thing. So I mean, and there again, like you can think of it in multiple ways. You know, some people think of it like using false chords and then having a decompressed sound, or like for Mel's, it was a flip into head voice, and relating the two things. You know, the vocal fry scream and the death metal growl. I think I've been like, I say reading, but also like watching a lot of YouTube videos on like learning science and all that. I think some really nice. Who's it? There's this guy Benjamin Keep on YouTube. Really nice stuff. And there's also another guy. I can't remember his name right now, but he's a Korean uh, professor or something. He's really cool as well. I think they both cite each other's videos or talk about each other's videos. And then one of the things that you always want to do when you want to learn something is like deep processing. You want to, take the thing that you're trying to learn and attach it to something else that you've already learned before. So, which is why it doesn't really make sense to always just like teach something from the ground up, because sometimes you just know some other stuff already. And that's the only way to make things stick. You've got to play around with it in your mind, like flip it around or attach, like relate it to things. In this case, what Mel did was, all right, I got the fry, which is and I mean that wasn't a fry scream, but like something like that, and the death growl is the other way is and so, and like I think that's really cool. But sorry, I got off track there. But what I was trying to say before I got to this track was that for the what was it? What were we talking about? We were talking about the false chord screams. Oh yeah, because I think the fry scream right now that Mel did is like really aggressive because it's got the airy quality to it. Same thing, and airiness is like another aspect. I mean, that's why they sound kind of similar, because both the death growl and like maybe I'll do my example of a death growl because I think maybe the difference will be a bit more obvious. I'm doing like it's like it's like my false folds. It's like not very airy, but like it's gurgling kind of quality. Mel has that, but there's also this thing going on at the same time. Can you do it again?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Trying to make it darker makes me lose the false chord compression because I'm so used to doing the twangy sound with it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But you can hear, like, if you listen carefully to Mel sing, what I was doing is in there.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of air is coming out. And that kind of leads us to another point of what compression is, because remember we were talking about how compression is like your vocal folds are like this, but in reality your vocal folds, they don't close like this. They do that, but like they close with the front part and with the back part. So they can just the front part can be together, and then the back is leaking air. So like it's still like, that part's still compressed, but I'm leaking air at the same time. So you've got like those two things, and you can play with this one where it's just where it's like just the front part's moving, and of course a bit of air is gonna leak out, but not as much, And with Mel, what she's doing there is she's letting a lot of air out the whole way. I mean, it might not be through the back. It could be like, there's another thing you can do with your vocal folds, which is called the grunt, which is where you. Yeah, yeah. There's no false chord in that. It's just your vocal folds flapping in the wind like weirdly, instead of like vibrating
a sail.
normally. They vibrate like 1 1 2 1 1 2 1 1 2, and like there's these whole pockets of time where lots of air just escapes out. And these are like weird applications of compression, but like the thing is, what I think has evolved for me over the past X amount of time that we haven't had a podcast episode is that I'm starting to believe that I mean, I already believed that almost anything was possible, but it's like there's a lot, even more possible than I thought. It's just like you just need a target, and you gotta aim. You just gotta know roughly what it is, and you aim for it. And your brain kind of does the rest, assuming you know roughly what to listen for. Or of course, it gets a lot faster if you have someone helping you out and all that. And of course, I have a vested interest in that. But to be honest, if you think about it, like lots of people are self-taught, and like it's because they hear the thing and mimic it because their brain does a lot of the work. Maybe sometimes it's like a suboptimal technique and all that, but you get the thing first, and then you can figure that out later. Like just the experimentation itself just helps so much. So you can play with different levels of compression, different levels of I don't know. In this case, like letting breath out, like or just playing with this one. I got an exercise from Aliki Katriu, who does distortion stuff, and she's really awesome. And she gave me one exercise for the fry scream stuff, which was like a fundamental exercise. It doesn't help you like get it straight away, but it's a fundamental muscle coordination thing, where she said, all right, now remember that your okay, I mean I'm paraphrasing of course, but remember that your vocal folds can do that. And for her, she was saying, well, if you do and you let the air out too much, you'll tend to bring in a lot more false folds and like squeeze, which sometimes you don't want, sometimes maybe you want, but like you'll get like I mean, if you think about like whispering, like it's completely decompressed, but you're using something to get that sound, right? And so she was saying, all right, now focus on trying to do the like add compression and remove the compression just at the front part of the vocal cords. And how you actually do that is just make your vocal folds feel tighter and feel less tight, but don't actually change the sound. Which is like, what? As like a voice teacher, someone who's listening to you, I shouldn't be able to hear a difference. Or like maybe a minimal difference. But it's what you feel inside that really matters. I don't know, we talked about this, like in registration. Sometimes only the singer themselves will know. They just need the knowledge of like what the different registers are. But then, like after that, you're the one who can tell. Once you know the extremes of what's this M2 thing, and then what's this M1 thing, and you know which one you're in most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. All right, I've gone into my long rant, so yeah, anything you got?
I was just going to talk about the different types of compression, because you did mention that we have compression in the front and the back, and we also have vertical or thick mass, and we have just posterior superficial kind of, because the vocal cords have layers. They're not just like a sheet. They have thicknesses and layers of them. So we have the superficial layer, which is called the epithelium, which is like your skin, and then you have your lamina propria, which is 3 layers deep itself. And then you have the TA muscle, which is what creates the strong, chesty, belty kind of qualities in the voice and overall. And it also shortens and thickens them. So you can have what we call posterior compression, which is just a closure of the back and very, very little mass happening. And then you have vertical compression, which is it's the beef, it's the thickness, it's the strength elements to the voice of compression. So you can have breathy sound. Say breathy sound with me. Breathy sound. Okay, this is a goodness gracious, I'm like dying over here.
This feels like Dora the Explorer. Can you say breathy sound? Breathy sound. You need to find falsetto on the map.
But we can also find breathy sounds in M1 too. Doesn't have to be falsetto. We can have breathy M1, and that is a very loose posterior compression. But we can have very loose posterior compression in M2. Absolutely, yeah, that's a breathy falsetto. Sure, absolutely. But then we can have very clean sounds in M2. So this is a posterior compression that is actually closed. So we have back compression. It's also called crazy, strong, clean sounds.
Yeah.
And then you have again breathy. You're good. You have breathy M1. That's a lack of vertical compression. That's a lack of mass. Oh, I'm sorry. That's opposite. That's opposite. Scratch that. Reverse it. Throw it out the window. You have you have the clean without the mass, and then you have the mass. Hi, how's it going? Without the posterior. Then you can have mass and posterior compression, which is like your crazy belted notes. Let me find a good one. Ah! That would be very compressed in both aspects. You have both posterior and vertical compression. So there's a lot of different things you can do. You can do a breathy M1. You can do a breathy M2. You can do a clean M1. You can do a clean M2. Like, you can have both.
Yeah, and of course you can add the different resonance components as well. They can be very dark, or they can be very bright, like what Mel was doing. So you can have it like this, or you can have it like this. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's the resonance stuff. Maybe we'll talk about it at another time. But
yeah,
to be honest, they're all kind of linked. Everything is linked, but it's nice to segment things just so it's easier to think about and talk about.
Right.
But yeah. Sorry, carry on, please.
No, you're good. I was going to talk about the muscles that create the posterior compression. We have our PCA muscles, which open the cords and allow air to flow freely. Now, if you did not have PCAs, you guys, you would die. You wouldn't be able to breathe. Yeah, you have to have those PCAs, posterior cricoarytenoids, to be able to breathe. Otherwise, your cords are going to be locked together. There's no air. Air can't pass through, and you're going to suffocate very slowly and painfully. So we are very happy to have those little guys to help open the cords up. They're attached to the back of the arytenoids and the posterior cricoarytenoids in the cricoid, right? Yeah. Cricoarytenoid. Yes, that's what they're attached to.
Yep.
And then you have the LCAs, the lateral cricoarytenoids. These are on the sides of the arytenoids in the cricoid. And these help close the cords. Pew! 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 And they create the clean sounds, or the clean, clean sounds! There you go. And then you have the TA, which we already know about. The TA is the shortening, thickening muscle that's inside the cords, which pulls the cords shorter, makes them more mass, more thickness, vibrate with more kind of thing.
New thing on TikTok: more energy, more passion. I don't know.
Yeah, so those are your types of compression, and it's super useful.
I think there's one more though. Yeah, the posterior one. You also have the interarytenoids as a transverse and oblique at the top. So remember the lateral cricoarytenoid, what it does is it pulls the front part of the vocal cords together in this weird levering motion that I'm showing on the video now. But then you see the arytenoids, which are the things at the back of the vocal folds. They need to come together to completely close off the cords. And so you got like these things here. So you got it. That's your interarytenoids. And of course, if you go to the extreme, you're gonna but they can also like vibrate into each other. You got weird stuff like that. Generally, maybe you won't do that, but you could. You could. You know, everything's possible. Most things are possible. Lots of things are possible.
So yeah, just feel free to practice these kinds of sounds at home. You have your breathy M1. Hi, how's it going? You have your clean M1. Hi, how's it going? You have your breathy M2. Hello guys, what's up? How's it? You have your clean M2. Hello. Your clean M2 here. Hi. You have all these capabilities of shaping the sound the way you want to with compression. So it's really cool.
I'm looking for a book right now. I was just reading on something about toughness. I think he was. So the author of the book, I need to find the name of it. Can you hear me, by the way? Just checking, because I did something weird. I'm not sure if it's just me, though. There's like, your audio is kind of repeating every now and then. I'm not sure if that's in the real thing.
No,
I
it's
think
not
it'll
gonna
be
be
the
an
second
NBA camp
side.
because it's not on my end. It shouldn't be. So I think it should be okay.
Okay, then it's probably my side. But any case, let me find that. Okay, it was a thing about toughness, and the person was talking about how they were a runner or are a and do hard things by Steve Magnus. Yeah. So what happened is that he was talking about the different aspects of toughness and how to actually achieve things and stick to things even when things get tough. Um, and one of the things he was talking about was how you need to assess reality and be in tune with what your body is telling you. You can't just like, all right, I'm gonna be able to do everything, positivity, yeah. No, you gotta like know your limits and know what you can do. Then you can actually perform better. And one of the like he was talking about one of the like an incident that happened with him where he was running in a race and he was doing his normal breathing stuff and he thought he was fine, but he just felt something a bit off. And I don't think he had ever like faced such a catastrophic disaster before this. And so in this particular race, he just kept going and eventually he couldn't he couldn't breathe. He just collapsed. And he found out later that what was happening was this thing called, I think, something to the effect of paradoxical vocal cord dysphonia or something like that. So what he was saying was in the book at least was that normally when you breathe in, your your vocal cords open, and that's what we were talking about, the PCAs, where wait, it's PCAs, right? Yeah, the back, and it opens them up, and then you breathe in, your air can come in, and then when you breathe out, there's a little bit of closure, like at least I guess with the runners, I'm sure that's the case. I'm not sure if that's always the case, to be honest, but that's what he was going with, and so it's like it should be like your vocal cords open, breathe in, and then you breathe out, your vocal cords maybe close ever so slightly. But for some reason, his nerves were misfiring and doing it the other way around. So when he tried to breathe in, his vocal cords just slammed shut. I probably because of stress or something. And then like when he tried, like it just like okay, when you try to breathe out, then yeah, but you got no air to breathe out, so you got a problem there.
That's
And
scary
so
that can happen. That's like terrifying.
that can happen apparently. So like, um, of course, if that happens to you, hopefully there's other people around you and stuff, and hopefully that doesn't happen to any one of our listeners or
You get a
viewers.
tracheotomy. Just get
But
like a freaking pen and just shove it into my freaking trachea.
yes,
Oh my
yeah.
god.
So like, thankfully that didn't happen to him, and he still survived long enough to write the book and all that, and go on to run other races as far as I know. But that's what happens when your vocal cords malfunction, you know. So yeah,
Terrifying.
all these compressor muscles, they have their use in singing and stuff, but they're also there for your like actual life. So
Yeah, kind of
yeah,
important to be able to breathe. Just a little bit. Just a
just a
little bit.
little bit important to breathe, I would say. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like we talked about before, how your larynx is there, like stop you from choking or getting stuff down your windpipe. In this case, that was a problem when it stopped things going down his windpipe because that thing was air. So
The epiglottis is like,
so really,
you're not gonna
yeah,
breathe today.
I think yeah, everything's like nah.
Not today,
I don't
fam.
want to do. It's opposite day today, so uh yeah. So I
Oh my
think
god.
we love our vocal cords and we love what they do for us, regardless of which way they go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have like my brain is just going in all sorts of weird directions now. I'm just thinking of how normally yeah we sing breathing out, but like we were talking about singing from the diaphragm and all that. Technically you can sing breathing in as well, but it's really weird. Like it's like super weird. But but yeah, you can do super low vocal fries with it. But I mean, this is not something I've read too much about. But some people say don't do that too much. To be honest, I'm not so sure if that. So this one you should do your own research, I would say. But some people don't advise breathing in, singing too much. But I think it's generally fine if that's not all you do.
Well,
And especially, yeah.
you think about it, like, where's my chords? Yeah, my chords. These are my chords, quote unquote, because I use this all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if we breathe out, which is what we do when we sing. Ah. Ah. I can never get this angle the right way the first time. I look like a freaking idiot every time I try to do this, I swear.
Well, we can edit that.
We have a gentle breathing out. If we try to... Well, that doesn't
I
even
don't
do
think
anything.
there's sound. Like, I think is the original sound off?
I'm not singing, I'm just breathing.
Oh no, there should be like the flapping sound of the paper, right?
Well, if not, unless I blow really hard. Then there would be flapping. I'm not breathing. So that would cause vibration. I'm trying to think about what would happen if you suck that air back in. If we think about Bernoulli's principle and the back pressure, that would look like for the chords. I'm trying to think.
I don't know. There's a whole rabbit hole of whether the Bernoulli thing is like legit the cause of how the vocal folds vibrate. Because I mean, I've been going down that rabbit hole where it's probably more about the angle of the vocal cords, because there's the wave, you know, they can flap in, I think, 2 or 3 modes or something they call it, but basically it's like the vocal cords can be like that or like that, like they can, and like if you imagine them, if they, you know, doing that, so they're doing this, they're just like rotating back and forth, so swiveling in a sense. That's what I'm doing with my hands here in the video. And it's like when this happens, the pressure changes from top to bottom and top to bottom and bottom to top. My hand-eye coordination's not very good today. And so it's more like when, let's say your vocal cords are like this, then because more pressure builds up, like over here where it's, you know, stuck, it, like, you can think of it something like that, then it kind of blows them apart. But then once the vocal cords come here, then the muscles are like, nah, we're going back. And then what happens is, just if you imagine that the air is kind of like, you know, following this surface, then there's more air here, which means, I mean, the same, assume it's like the same volume and whatever, same mass, but it's like wider, so there's less pressure at the top and stuff. So you got this like negative pressure thing up here. And so then it's like, all right, I got less pressure here than down here, so I'm sucking it back together in a sense. And then it's doing that. So,
and this happens hundreds of times per second, which is like literally insane to me that can happen that many times per second.
Yeah, and like, I guess if it's, I mean, apparently if your vocal cords are just like this and they aren't doing this, then this doesn't, there's no pressure differential. The pressure is the same throughout the whole thing. So the only way that it can close back, wait, I'm trying to think about this, so it goes like that, and then blows apart, and then what happens is you need back pressure from your vocal tract, so this will jam it up. Like, you know, earlier we were saying like the air is kind of jammed up here, like at the top of the funnel in a sense. But if you're doing this, there is no funnel anymore. The funnel is the rest of your mouth and your like throat and stuff. And so when there's like the air reflects back and it's just lagging, you know, and it's like, oh, okay, well, the pressure is building up, I guess, so bam, and now, oh, all the air escapes, then, oh, no more pressure, then it closes. So you need like a resonator, apparently, but I don't know how true that is. I haven't done the experiments, but based on the experiments and the modeling and whatever, apparently that's what happens. So, I mean, you can read the hundreds of pages of articles that Ingo Tietze has put out on this, and but that's the idea. And so I'm just imagining, if you are, as long as the vocal cords change shape, inhaling, it's the same thing, isn't it? It's just backwards. So you could make it vibrate. It's just like you would do it the opposite way, I guess. Now that I think about it, it's like they talked about how the starting position determines your like kind of compression level in a sense. Because remember we were saying when the vocal cords are like kind of negative, like funnel shaped, where the top part is bigger, that's, or if you think about it, that's when the TA muscles are thick, when they're bulging out. Then that makes them come together more, or like close more, and that's compression, right? That's just the vocal cords coming together in the end. And same thing if your vocal cords are kind of this angle, where, or kind of a negative funnel, or an umbrella. Yeah, an umbrella. I'm just gonna make that up right now. So, in that case, they come together less, or might not even come together because the pressure is building up. So it's not necessarily that the thing flips around. It just like has to change a bit. And because you've also got your elasticity of your muscles, you know, they will come back and stuff. And so it's like, thinking about that. So that this is when just the superficial parts of your vocal folds are touching, which is M2, right? Generally speaking. Right. There's not much thickness. But then if you buff it up here, then there's more compression, generally speaking. And that's your vertical compression. But I'm thinking if you do inhale breathing, then doesn't that kind of like reverse? I'm wondering, like, does it become more decompressed if you're this way?
I literally have no idea. I think we need to like scope somebody doing an inhale and explanation. Honestly, that's like the best way to be able to tell.
Thinking about it, like it's so much easier to do a really, really low note, like this is exhale. It's like I can barely get anything out. But if I inhale, like it's like wow. It's so much easier. And maybe it's because the whole compression paradigm just reverses. You know, that's in my head. I don't know. That might or might not be true. Somebody's got to explore it. And maybe that's why it's, you know, sometimes we
so cool
whistle registers. Like, I can't really do it very well. But, you know, when you're inhaling and doing a whistle register kind of thing, now it's just the thinnest part of the vocal cords touching probably, you know, or like flageolet kind of inhales. But you know, now you reverse the direction, so that means that actually you'll get more compressed. That's what's happening in my head.
I literally don't. It's a whole rigmarole of science and pressure there, and
I literally came up with this right now, so I don't know. Like it's
I don't know either, man. I think we need to get somebody scoped for that. We need to get Nicholas to go to the lab and do inhale phonation for us so we can like see it.
I always wonder how much money he pays to like get himself.
I don't know. It's crazy. The guy is like freaking. Yeah. I'm jealous. I wish I could just walk up to a freaking scientist and be like, "Hey, will you scope me so I can see this happening?"
I mean, shout out to him also. He just had a conference, I think, at Pava, like one of the.
Yeah, that Pava workshop, right?
Yeah, and like I think he was saying that Ingo Tietze, who is like one of the people in vocal science, vocology. He wrote the textbook for vocology.
Yeah.
And or like vocal habilitation, I think they call it. So it's like not just rehabilitation, it's habilitation. And like enabling singers on. I think he praised Nicholas's work and workshop, and I think Nicholas got a best interactive workshop or something. That's what I saw on the Instagram stories. So I mean,
that's awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like he's doing distortion stuff. Just imagine, like it's a whole new field out there, and like we can just think about the vocal cords, but there's so much more there. Like I'm pretty sure that I don't know if anyone's watched like or played the new Spider-Man 2 stuff. I was watching like Jacksepticeye play it.
Hey.
Yeah.
What
I mean, without any spoilers, I mean, there's the Venom voice which appears in the trailers. Like, that's definitely not the normal vocal cords. And it's like, we are Venom, like that kind of thing. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's some like sound filters as well, but like the bass sound, like, that's more just compression of the vocal folds themselves. There's so much more to learn. I mean, of course, if anyone wants to learn things in a more like specific way, I think there are better places for that. But yeah, this is our little tangent heaven, I would say. So
this is a fun place to discuss these topics for sure. But yeah, I just think it's really cool that we can control levels of compression. I think it's really cool that we can control distortions with those levels of compression and breathiness and other structures vibrating too, which is cool. And like Nicholas was talking about this because I'm observing the distortion course again because like why not? But Nicholas was talking about how we don't have any evidence to suggest that the false folds have muscle, but we also don't have any evidence to discredit that there might be some fibers from TA in the false folds.
Yeah, I think that one thing that actually Nicholas also says this, but I was talking with Aliki. I think it's something they always talk about. It's like what you do with your vocal folds tends to affect what happens with your false folds. It's like
Yeah, makes sense.
so if you squeeze your vocal folds more, the false folds tend to follow. So like they will tend to go together, but you can kind of decouple it. You can.
Well, you kind of
But
have
it's
to if
like
you don't want to damage your voice for the long term. If you're over
yeah,
compressing the folds like crazy and you try to use that to get the false cords to compress, you're going to be very fatigued. You got to have
yeah,
balanced compression at the level of the true folds to be able to have a healthy compression of the false folds, and vice versa.
yeah. Which is kind
So,
of why I guess what I like about. I mean, what Nicholas does. Sometimes he'll talk about using twang, which I think helped you as well.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like so, I don't know if it's like the same. Like honestly, I don't know if it's exactly the same coordination. I don't think it is, but I think it's a near enough coordination that like it helps to, because I mean, and the twangers are like over here,
Yeah.
really, like in your neck, and
Mhm.
then the false folds are like right below it. So
Yeah.
maybe you're squeezing that, and then it happens to bring the false folds together.
Yep.
Or maybe you are actually controlling the false folds themselves, but I don't
Again,
know
they have to have
yeah.
some kind of muscle to be able
Yeah,
to
I think
be
you
individually
need to, like,
controlled.
inject stuff into the muscles and see like where the electrical impulses are for like that kind of. Well, you can't just scope it because you don't know what's really being controlled. You just the result of what's moving, you know.
Yeah, this makes me curious though.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if false cords don't have muscle, does twang still exist when we're trying to go for the death metal growls? Because if they don't have muscle, then they need some kind of level of narrowing at the top in order for them to come together, which is twang. So then, how do they come together in death metal growls if there isn't any twang?
Well, I mean, when Nicholas does his death metal growls, he does it with a very low larynx.
Right.
So it's gonna be very little effect of the top bit, I think.
Well,
so
how do they come together?
I think it'll be a lot less. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's true.
I'm just like curious how that works.
Which is why I think they were saying that the vocal folds are probably linked, because then you need to be making some kind of pitch with your vocal folds, or at least you need to be activating them. Maybe they don't have to be touching, I don't know, but they have to be doing something. And that's why like when the false folds come together, even though like the vocal folds are doing stuff, they're so decompressed. There's no pitch in the vocal folds. There's no pitch in the false folds. And okay, Aliki would argue that there is pitch in false screaming, but there's like less of an audible pitch, I would say. So it's just.
So it makes me wonder if
it's just like,
you can narrow the top of the throat without twang. If you can somehow control the top of the throat.
Oh wait,
narrowing
but
without
you definitely
twang.
can. Because I mean, twang ultimately is. I mean, there's of course the back part, but you can use your tongue. You use the back of your tongue, and you push back your epiglottis, right? And that narrows the epiglottic, sphincter, but basically the gap between the epiglottis and the back of the throat, right? So you get like a kind of, if you think about the vocal folds as being like an Adam's apple or an Eve's apple, like just whatever is on Mel's drawing there, and then like you think about a tunnel here, and it's like when you whistle or you say an E sound, it's like you're creating another resonator in a sense, like you're kind of blocking something off, and then here with your lips, you're creating another like passage kind of thing, and that's kind of what's happening with this. And I would say that like the what they call the dumpling or the canoodle sound, is the it's the same. It's like a variant of it, I would say, because in the end it is you just like tensing the back of your tongue and pushing everything down, or maybe the larynx comes up at the same time. But twang is kind of similar. You're just using the back of the tongue, not squeezing as much, but you're using it to push the back, push the epiglottis. So I mean, even when with the would you do that with the growl, death growls? Yeah, yeah. It's like you can make it even
Mm.
more like. If you do the.
Ooh, okay, now I have to try this. I gotta figure out how the heck to do this.
I mean.
uh, let's see here. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And what Nicholas does is he puts his tongue at the top, I think. Like. So like.
Nah, nope, not yet.
That's a bit of a Cookie Monster. But,
I'll get there.
Cookie
Monster.
Cookie. But I think that your point is it still stands though that like I'm controlling the top of my throat, yeah, but I mean the whole structure is down. I don't know whether like is that control. It's definitely not exactly the same as what you associate with like twang, like this thing where it's like kind of weird. I mean, you can still make that sound like opera singers, like you have a lot. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's clipping. I don't know if it's my side. I think it's my side. But yeah. Oh, one last. I realized we're like kind of. I don't know if we're considered overtime, but one cool application of compression. I mean, besides, of course, and we didn't really talk about the applications of compression, but of course, besides like the breathy part and the non-breathy part and changing registers, which I guess are applications of compression, what am I talking about? But I think one other application is that, you know, people do like, we haven't talked about resonance yet, but I like overtone singing. So in that realm, right, you need to be, or even like choral singing, when you have more compression, you will automatically be brighter in the sense that there will be more high overtones in your voice to resonate. We haven't really talked about resonance yet, but you can think about it as when your voice doesn't have a head on top of it, it sounds something like this, like sounds something like that, and then you put like a head on top of it. It's like, I don't know if I can do this now. Like it's like meow 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 meow.
It's a duck call.
It is a duck call, yeah. And so like a lot of the demonstrations for this, they use duck calls and then they put like a pipe on it to make, and then you squeeze different parts of the pipe to get different vowels.
Yeah.
And it's something like that. And wow, after doing that, my voice feels better. Like that was weird. It's like a semi-occluded vocal tract exercise. I feel so much better right now. But yeah, so okay, but your lips aren't really designed to do that, so I think don't do that too much. But and the more compressed your vocal cords are, the brighter that duck call sound becomes, and there's more stuff to play around with. But if it's just like like you see that, where that's like a falsetto sound without the thing, and let's try to do. It's there, but it's less. You know, there's less stuff to work with. And with overtone singing, you are amplifying like bits of that sound. And so if you do like a really soft sound, like you can, it's still there, but like you need it to be a certain level of brightness so you can do like there's more stuff to work with. Yeah, I've been
cool.
doing this now.
Just so cool.
I just wanted to try it.
You need to teach me how to do that, because I can't do that. I have
Yeah,
no idea how you do
first
that.
step is the compression, but one cool thing that I've been working with Wolfgang Zaus. He's like the overtone man. He's like the guy who teaches overtone singing, and you can see his videos on YouTube as well. I think he and Anna Maria Hefele are like the people on YouTube who like
The people.
do overtone singing. Like they are the people who do it. And he was giving me one tip as well. Like he was phrasing as like bear down a little on the false folds. I mean, I was like, you mean like? Then he was like, no, that's like squeeze. I was doing like, but he was like, no, that's like squeezing. He was saying, no, you need to do it like you lower your larynx and you go, it's like you sound like you're crying, like,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, like, and then you, like that kind of thing. That's not really my best, but like something like that.
I just don't know, man. Something.
Yeah,
I'll figure it out.
Now there's a lot of steps, and we went really step by step. Like, I mean, like I had like some degree of control already, but after that, it was really all right. You try this one thing, then we come back next week, and okay, I got the one thing. Now we do the next thing, and then okay, you got this thing. Now how about this thing? And they're like, okay, all right, I like it. So, you know, it's like with Aliki as well, the distortion teacher. She asked me, okay, do you have any existential questions, or would you like me to throw you around? And I'm like, just throw me around, man. Like I want that, you know, because I know you're the expert on this stuff. I just want you to give me what you think would help me progress. And I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna do it for the next week. Step ladders, you know, that's one of the things I was. There's one someone who posted in one of the Facebook groups with voice teachers in it. I think it was Matthew Edwards who posted this. Then there was this book talking about what was it called? Scientifically proven ways to get stuff done, or something to that effect. I can't remember the name, but let me search for it. But the idea was that in order to, you know, actually get things done and stick to things, you need to what's it called? You need to take things as step ladders. You don't try to aim for the goal, the dream. Anything that you're gonna take 3 months or more to do, that's a dream. You're not, you know, you have to assess. It ties back to what I was saying earlier. You gotta assess the reality of your situation. Can you achieve it, like, in a week or something? And then you have to do those things and focus on just the next step and the next step and the next step and the next step. And then each time you finish the next step, you get that dopamine hit, like, oh yeah, I did it. I can do this. And it feels better, you know? And if you're thinking, I want to be the next American Idol, and you're just starting, it's not a great idea, because you're going to be like, the voice teacher will be like, hey, all right, well, you got to match pitch first. Let's do this exercise where we sing one pitch at a time. Then you'll be like, but when do I get to start belting? You know? So you gotta go step by step. And I think, to be honest, you know, thinking about how far I've come after starting out, not being able to sing. Yeah, I dreamed the dream of, that's like a Lemis thing, but I dreamed the dream of, you know, matching like American Idol people or opera people. But in the end, it's the little steps. I think Justin also, in one of his videos, Justin Stoney talks about like your voice as kind of a Lego castle or fortress or something, where you add one block every day, and slowly but surely, it becomes a gigantic castle. I mean, how the castle is shaped is up to you, which path you go down, which skill tree you do, but I think it's, yeah, it's, like, compression, learning to control compression is just one of those steps. Yeah. And it's just like a prerequisite. But then you can do so much more with it afterwards. Because then you can go, alright, let's go to the belting stuff. Okay, let's go to the overtone singing stuff. Let's go to the metal stuff. Which way do you want to go? Because now you know how to... I think you asked the question of Justin in a live chat or something. I saw his Instagram, or the New York Vocal Coaching Instagram, where he said, I got a question from Melissa. I'm like, I think I know which Melissa that is. And he's like, what if I want to do belting? I think your question was like belting, right?
I was I'm too heavy in my belt, so I was trying to figure out a way
Yeah.
to get a more balanced belt without completely losing it. And he's like, you gotta have messa de voce. You gotta be able to
Yeah.
take that very, very gradually, build, pull back. Okay,
Yeah.
so I've been working with that for a while.
And exactly. So it's I mean that I think is the fundamental of compression control, of course.
Yeah.
Can you just control your volume? I mean, the thing is that compression is a thing that we control, but what you want to aim for, you know, the volume, the breathiness, these are things that you can hear and you can actually target.
Yeah.
So you know that if let's say earlier I was talking about Aliki's exercise, which is like the opposite of messa di voce. You're compressing but not hearing any difference, and then decompressing and not hearing any difference. And then with this one, it's okay. You're compressing and you're also adding other stuff. You're and you're also changing registers, kind of, in a sense, like because it's the thickness of your vocal folds, all that vertical compression, all that good stuff. So it's like, but once you get that down, I mean that takes a while, of course. It's not like you get it immediately. And some people can't sing strong when they're soft. And I think it's led to some people saying that you can't. Like, it's not even possible, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
It's like definitely possible.
Yeah.
But you do. I have heard people saying that, especially in like choir settings. Like, all right, you need more support on the, but you only sing as soft as you can support. That's. I mean, support is a kind of loaded term in a sense, but I think that makes sense for the choir because you want to. If you're trying to sing the lowest dynamic, but it sounds like this and it doesn't sound very good, then of course, yeah, you should up the volume a bit until like the choir's level matches what you want to do.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that it's not possible. It can be done. Like, you can go really soft and still be kind of resonant. You can still hear it and even do. You can still even do that.
Back into the overtone. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to you.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, this is great. This is fun to talk about this kind of stuff. I do have to go. I have to figure out how I'm gonna get coffee today because I haven't had any coffee, and I have no coffee in my house, and I don't have money to order coffee, and I don't have a car to go get coffee, so I'm kind of stuck.
Oh no.
Without coffee. I mean, I technically do have money to order coffee, and I'm trying to save up every freaking penny for next week. So I'm dying.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been fun. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna eat and do for coffee. But yeah, I will talk to you soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about compression or any topics you want to go over in the future, let me know. I'm thinking about trying to get Matt on here now that he finished his master's degree. Matt is my coach. You know who Matt is. He's awesome. Yeah. I'm also trying to I'm thinking about getting Lauren on to talk about songwriting techniques because she's great. And then we'll go Lauren Hausas. She's on TikTok. She's a smaller creator, but she's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the smallest creator here, I think, so. Yeah. So I'm not gonna say anything about that, but let's go, man. Sounds cool.
Yeah,
Songwriting
awesome.
is really cool. All right, then. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, bye. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.